Hello, I'm John Foster, and I'm a medical doctor who does Social Security disability exams. And today I'm going to talk about some of Social Security's rules and regulations, and especially ones that I see patients confused about or having the wrong impression. And first, I need to give 3 warnings. First, everything that I say reflects my own views based on my own experience and study, and not the views of the Social Security Administration or any other medical body. Second, I'm not an attorney, and nothing I say should be construed as giving legal advice. If you really need legal advice for your Social Security disability application, I strongly suggest you consult a Social Security lawyer. And third, Social Security is an enormous federal organization with an annual budget of over $1 trillion. And guess what? I don't make their rules. So if you're unhappy with any of the rules and regulations I'm discussing, you should contact your representative and senators and not leave a comment or nasty piece of information for me. Now, the first common misunderstanding I see is that a lot of people think that Social Security disability is easy to get and that people can get it who don't have anything medically wrong with them. I'm sure that if you're in the process of applying for disability, you know that nothing could be further from the truth. It's a long, complicated, difficult process, and many people with real medical problems are declined and do not receive disability benefits. So the first thing you should know is what is Social Security's definition of disability. And their definition is inability to engage in any substantial gainful activity by reason of a medically determinable physical or mental impairment that can be expected to result in death, or which can be expected to last for a continuous period of not less than 12 months. So understand that you can claim disability for physical problems such as arthritis, mental problems such as manic depression, or for a mixture of physical and mental problems. However, your problems have to be expected to result in relatively near-term death, or they've been present for 12 months or could be expected to be present for 12 continuous months. Keep in mind, doctors are not good at predicting the future, so if your problem has been present for less than 12 months, doctors may not be able to tell you where you'll be within the 12 months of the onset of your condition. Also keep in mind, those 12 months have to be continuous. If you were, say, disabled for 3 months, and then returned to work for 6 months, and then were disabled for another 10 months, and then returned to work, you would not qualify for Social Security even though you'd been disabled for a total of 13 months. The months must be continuous. The next thing is there are 2 disability programs administered by the Social Security Administration. SSDI, which is Social Security Disability Insurance, and SSI, which is known as Supplemental Security Income. The differences between these are extensive and somewhat complicated, and I'm not going to go into them here. Social Security has a very comprehensive website where you can look up all sorts of information at ssa.gov. The next thing is Social Security disability benefits can be paid at any time between birth and when the person achieves their full retirement age. at which time Social Security disability transitions into Social Security retirement income. If the person is a minor, then their parents receive the income until the person becomes an adult. Now, here is a rule that a lot of people don't understand or know about. You don't receive Social Security disability benefits because you cannot do your former job. You only receive Social Security disability benefits if, in the mind of Social Security, you cannot perform any full-time job. That's very important for people whose work may have been physically or mentally demanding. For example, I've seen some lawyers applying for Social Security disability benefits. Well, if Social Security determines that one of those lawyers could work as a janitor or sitting at a desk answering the phone, they will not qualify for Social Security disability benefits. The next common misunderstanding of the rules that I see is that Social Security does not pay for partial disability. And where I see this most often is in folks who are veterans, who are receiving Veterans Administration disability benefits. Veterans Administration does provide partial disability. For example, they can determine that a veteran is 10, 20, 50, whatever percent disabled, and then that person will receive 10, 20, 50% of whatever they would have received if they're totally disabled. Social Security only considers you either able to work or unable to perform any substantially gainful activity. There are no partial disability benefits. Also, the methods and rules for determining Veterans Administration disability are quite different from Social Security disability, and they don't cross over. I see folks who have 100% VA disability who don't understand why Social Security doesn't automatically approve them for Social Security disability. The two systems are completely different, and it's usually more difficult to get Social Security disability than to get 100% VA disability. That being said, if you truly are 100% disabled, you should definitely apply for Social Security disability if you qualify. The next thing is there are certain circumstances that make it easier for your application to be approved, and they are if you are age 50 or over, or if you have less than a high school education. Social Security believes that if you've worked for 20 to 30 years, you're unlikely to apply for disability for a minor or trivial reason. Likewise, Social Security thinks that the more education you have, the more jobs will be available for you to take. The next thing I see people confused about is the date of onset of their disability. The date of onset Social Security considers is the date that your problems became so severe that you had to quit working. It's not the date that the doctor diagnosed you. You may have been diagnosed before you had to quit work, or you may have been diagnosed after you had to quit work. It's the date that you had to quit work. This is important because if you became disabled well before your application, you may be eligible for back payments of disability benefits if Social Security determines that you are disabled. That's a complicated subject, and you may need the help of an attorney to sort that out. The next thing that people are confused about is that Social Security disability means that you cannot work full-time because of your conditions. That means 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. If you're able to work only part-time, Social Security may still consider you disabled and pay you benefits. Again, that's a somewhat complicated issue where you may need the assistance of an attorney. Now, let's talk a bit about consultative examinations. The main reason that applications for disability are rejected when the person actually is disabled is lack of medical records. And it's extremely important that you get all pertinent medical records to Social Security. And Social Security prefers records that are recent, within the past year, and that have a specialist's opinion, and that have tests supporting your diagnosis. For example, if you're complaining of back problems, Social Security would like to see a copy of a recent MRI report of your back. It's also very helpful if your treating physician can issue an opinion about your limitations on your abilities to work. Now, if you don't have adequate medical records or they're out of date, Social Security is likely to refer you for a consultative examination. A consultative examination is done by an independent physician who's paid by Social Security but is not a Social Security employee, and that physician will focus on the issues for which you are claiming disability. That physician does not make the final determination of whether your application is accepted or declined, and is not a treating physician. They are not there to treat your condition. For example, they won't write you a prescription. Now, here's an issue I see frequently, is that patients ask me for a copy of my medical report. And the Social Security rule is that I'm not to provide copies of my report to patients. However, there is a way for you to get a copy of the consultative examination physician's report. On the letter Social Security sent you about your consultative examination, the last page is a Social Security form for obtaining a copy of the consultative examination report. What you have to do is give that form to your doctor. Your doctor can then request a copy of the consultative examination report from Social Security, and once your doctor has a copy of the report, they can give it to you. You cannot obtain a copy directly from the examining doctor or from Social Security. Sometimes people get angry when I tell them that. Again, I don't make the rules. Social Security does. I just follow them. The next misunderstanding is that disability is not awarded on the basis of your diagnosis in most cases. Disability is awarded on the basis of how severely your medical problems affect your ability to work. If your medical problems don't affect your ability to work, you will not have your application approved. In general, your problems have to severely affect your ability to work for your disability application to be approved. There are exceptions. There are two types of exceptions. One is compassionate allowances. These are conditions which Social Security awards disability regardless of the severity of the issue. And the other is what are called TERI cases, T-E-R-I, which stands for terminal illness. These are certain conditions where the disease is expected to result in death in 12 months or less. And in these conditions, Social Security will award disability benefits based on the diagnosis, and these applications are expedited. If you have a Terry case condition, you need to notify Social Security of that fact, so your application will be expedited. Terry cases most commonly are a cancer that has spread throughout the body and cannot be cured by surgery, radiation, or chemotherapy. Well, we've got a thunderstorm going, so I apologize for the thunder. The next misconception people have is that if their disability application is denied, it's hopeless. Nothing could be further from the truth. Here's what to do if you receive a denial letter for your disability application. You should apply within 60 days for an appeal. That will be a written appeal, and expect that that written appeal will also be denied. Most are. Again, don't give up. Within 60 days, apply for an appeal in disability court. You won't actually go to court since the pandemic. Disability court hearings have been held by Zoom, but you will appear before a disability judge to explain your case and why you should qualify. And you have the highest chance of being approved in court. If during the process of applying and appealing you get new medical records that bolster your case, for example, a doctor's visit report or a test report that shows that your condition has become worse or more serious, you should send those documents to Social Security. You can continue to send in new medical records while your application is being considered, and you should, especially if they show that you're getting worse. The next thing that a lot of people don't understand is that what Social Security considers most important is what are your work-related limitations, not so much what is the cause of those work-related limitations. For example, suppose you have difficulty walking, which Social Security considers a work-related ability. It doesn't matter that much if the trouble walking is due to arthritis in the knees, or a stroke, which is a brain problem, or diabetic neuropathy, which is a problem with the nerves in your leg. What really matters is the fact that you have difficulty walking and how severe that difficulty walking is. Now, lastly, I'd like to talk about whether or not you need an attorney. First of all, if you do decide to engage an attorney, you might be best off engaging an attorney who specializes in Social Security disability. Social Security disability is a complicated legal system, and you really want a lawyer who understands exactly how it works and how to give your case the best chance of being approved. The next thing is that most disability attorneys are paid on what's known as a contingency basis, which means they're only paid if you win your case, and they get a certain percentage of the money that's awarded to you. Because of this, I think that if you have a very clear-cut winning case, you probably don't need to engage an attorney. For example, let's take the case of problems with vision. If your best corrected vision, which means your vision with the correct glasses that an eye doctor has prescribed for you, is 20/200 or worse in both eyes, you what we call meet a listing. You meet the condition for one of Social Security's listing of impairments, and your application will be approved, and you probably don't need an attorney. However, if your case is difficult or complicated, it might be a good idea to engage an attorney. If your initial application is denied, it might be a good idea to engage an attorney. And certainly if you're going to appear in Social Security court hearing, I would recommend that you engage an attorney. I would not recommend that you go to court for any reason without the aid of an attorney. One more legal issue: if you are incarcerated, your disability benefits stop during the time you're in jail or prison. When you're released, you have to reapply for benefits, even if your condition is the same as it was when you went into jail or prison, or if it's worse. Social Security used to continue the benefits effective your release date, but no longer does. You have to reapply. Well, I hope this has been helpful, and as always, remember, if it happens, it's possible.